Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dear Sports. Today, I got to sit down with Baylor football's Michael Allen. Michael is a redshirt junior for the Bears and also serves as the sideline signaler for the defense. We talked about his passion for wanting to become a football coach, as well as becoming a man of faith. Make sure to like and subscribe and enjoy the episode. Well, Michael, thanks so much for being here today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is an interview that I've been really pumped about. I feel like we've talked about it.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do it for a long time. We've been good friends for a long time. So I'm excited to interview you today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a big week for y'all.
Busy. Very busy. Yeah, same with you. First day of school, Auburn week. Finally, got through fall camp, so everything's kind of piling on, but glad to be here.
Yes, and you had class today, MBA program.
MBA program, so first day of 17th grade, I think. So, yeah, I had to send a picture to my mom. But, yeah, so business casual for the MBA program. But, no, I'm excited. It's good to be back.
Yeah,
so.
Good. Yeah, kind of rounds in and out a little bit. But first, just give us some background of who you are, where you're from, how you started playing football, and then how you got to Baylor.
Yeah, so I'm Michael Allen. I'm from Kansas City, Kansas. And have a lot of family from Texas, like Dallas, San Antonio, and ended up walking on here at Baylor. So kind of a crazy process, and didn't really think it was going to happen, but was kind of undersized, and so knew I wanted to play football, but didn't know where I could play and what level I could play at. And so got opportunities at Iowa State, and then Baylor kind of came along at the last minute, and it just felt like the right thing to do. Yeah. And so I walked on here 4 years ago, which is crazy to say, and then this will be my 4th season coming up. So it's gone by quick, but I've loved it. So it's been awesome.
I forget that because you redshirted.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. Because
Yep.
I feel like we're the same age, but we're just not.
I know.
Like you
I know.
have more
so
eligibility
it's like
than I realized.
football is weird because you can play 4 games and keep your redshirt year.
Yeah.
Like other sports, if you play a snap, then it's gone.
Yeah.
So I got to play a little bit in the first year, and then I still get a whole another year back. So still deciding if I'm going to take a 5th year or not, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So.
And how did you start playing? You played baseball in high school, correct?
Yeah. So I played baseball in high school. I kind of played all of them growing up, football, baseball, basketball, soccer. And football is honestly probably the worst one I was at, to be honest. Okay. But family roots definitely play a big role. I'm from a family, a defensive football family. So my grandpa, my whole family's A&M. So I always apologize to my Baylor people, but I'm an Aggie. And so grandpa played at A&M. My uncle played at A&M. My uncle's kind of coaching now in the NFL, has kind of been on some different teams. And so football's kind of always, it's been in my life. And so we were always watching, what team Uncle Denny was coaching for. It was always on at the house. And when we were with my grandpa or my uncle, we're always playing catch in the backyard. So football is always just something I was around. And I always loved it. And so I played flag football and then just kept going from there. And so once I got to high school, we kind of had to pick 2. And so football and baseball were kind of the two ones I love the most.
Yeah.
So
did you play all the way up into your senior year for baseball?
So I actually, when I found out I committed to Baylor, when I was going to come here, it was late February. The walk-ons are always super late.
Yeah.
And so ended up we won state my junior year in baseball. I loved it. And then I was man, if I'm going to go play at Baylor, I need to get faster. And so I actually ran track. So I skipped my senior year of baseball and decided to run track for my senior year. And it was great because I was in great shape showing up on the first day. And so I'm glad I did it. So, but I do miss baseball.
Yeah, that's sweet. So going through that recruiting process, what was that like for you? I know being a walk-on can be challenging. I was in the same boat. Yeah. And so the recruiting process looks a little bit different when you're in that slot.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I think the hardest thing is the timing because you see all of the people that you play with and their time is hey, sophomore year, I'm going to take visits, or junior year, I'm going to commit or get offers. And you're kind of sitting back and it's man, this might not happen until after my senior year. Yeah. And so it's a lot of waiting. Mm-hmm. I remember getting a text from Brian Bell. He was a coach here at the time. Okay. So I actually was able to take an unofficial visit here, which is pretty rare for a walk-on situation. Yeah. So I was really grateful for Coach Wetzel and Coach Bell for that. But I remember on signing day, they still didn't know if they were gonna have a spot. And Coach, and you can imagine just man, I was waiting, and Coach Bell was hey, your time will come, just be patient. Mm-hmm. And so the name of the game was kind of waiting, and it was just you have to put yourself out there, which is kind of uncomfortable because I always like to hey, play well, let the film do the talking, but you got to reach out to coaches, you got to be the Twitter person, at certain times and kind of work all the connections. But I say the biggest thing for me was my high school coach. Like they do a lot of the talking on your behalf. And so he was able to like say a lot of great things about me, and I'm like really appreciative of Coach Terrell because he was the one that kind of got me the opportunity at Iowa State, and I feel like that opportunity led to Baylor. Like you know how it is with like one opportunity leads to another.
Coaches talk,
Yeah. So that was big, but a lot of waiting your turn for sure.
Yeah. So. Jeez, yeah, I don't miss that at all because it's such a just like feeling of like you were really good in high school.
Yeah.
You know your like abilities, you believe in yourself, you know like the impact you can make, and so it's really just up to like a numbers game.
I know.
And even in the state of athletics now, like I'm so thankful that the Lord put me like he knew I needed to be born in 03 to then start college in 21 and all the things because my spot just wouldn't not really exist anymore.
I know. I was talking to Wetzel, and it was a crazy story because like I was talking to him the other day at practice, and it was like we're the last batch of like walk-ons because like they don't even exist anymore. And so what was crazy about the situation at Baylor was like they didn't have a spot for me, and so Wetzel was like, hey, like we like you, but we don't have a spot. And so Iowa State was actually incredible too because those spots like you don't get to hold them for a while like offers. They're like, hey, like we'll give you a spot, but you kind of got to commit now. Iowa State, and they let me hold that PWO for like 2 months, which is unheard of, you know? And so I'd always like Baylor was just, I felt something, you know, kind of the Lord was kind of stirring my heart that Baylor was where you wanted to, it should be. And then a walk-on safety quit.
Jeez.
And so like the perfect position, the perfect time, like, you know, like I couldn't have, you can't make it up. And so just so thankful that God put me here.
I love it. That's awesome. I read the article that Jerry Hill wrote just about you and like your journey, and like we've been able to be good friends for a while, and so like I met you through FCA, and I read it last night and I was like, Faith, get a grip, because I was like trying not to cry because I was like, ugh, like I just know how hard you've worked, and like you're so deserving of all the things, and so you've now been put on scholarship.
Yes.
Michael, it's huge. When we went to dinner with John, and you like casually said that, I was like, like what? I was like at dinner, I'm like, Faith, get it together. Like don't cry. I know like how hard it is to achieve that. And so like what does that mean for you? And like just talk us through like that process and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, that was surreal. And I think like we've talked about like just been super fortunate with timing, you know, like I think if I was born a little bit later, that opportunity wouldn't have been there. Like I was here, you know, early enough to get a spot on the team, and then also like be here long enough to where I could prove myself for a couple of years before some of this roster stuff, you know, comes up. But I think all of that, like every time, so when I found out that day, like I called my parents that night, and like that's something that like I've been looking forward to forever, you know. It's just that phone call of like, hey, Mom and Dad, like they put me on scholarship, you know.
You don't have to pay anymore.
Exactly. And so I called my dad, and I was confused because my dad like had texted me that day. He's like, hey, like just like call me when you chance. I just want to check in. And so I was like scared. I was like, oh, did they tell him? Like, I know. So I was like, dang it. But then I called him and I told him he had like no idea. And so he lost it and he loved it. And then my mom came in the house like 30 minutes later and told her, and then she started tearing up. And so like that was probably the coolest moment. And it's like, as you know, like a lot of people had to pour into me and like invest in me and like take a chance on me. And so like getting to prove them right was probably the coolest thing. So I had a lot of phone calls with like high school coaches who stuck their neck out for me, and like my parents who like paid for it all, and like, you know, so it's like a lot of people that like have poured into me. I was just so thankful to be able to do it. And like can't say enough things about Coach Wetzel. Like that's my guy. And so like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So just super thankful.
Sweet. I love it. So like how do you feel like you have changed freshman year to now? Like you're redshirt junior. Stepping into like that senior-ish role. Like how do you feel like you have changed in this time?
I think the biggest thing is probably confidence and influence. I would say are probably the two biggest things, because as a freshman, especially as a freshman walk-on, you know, you kind of got to earn your keep. And so it's kind of head down, you know, do whatever is asked of you, and, you know, work really hard. And it's like whatever role you can find, like just find a way to help, you know. Absolutely. And I think like year by year it was cool because like you could see the role grow a little bit, you know, and it's just been super fortunate for, you know, Coach Aranda and Coach Powell and like the guys on the team, because I feel like I've kind of carved out a role, and I've been able to like kind of like maximize it. And so it's like I talked to some other walk-ons, like how many ways can you create value, you know? And so I've just noticed like a confidence in me that I probably didn't have my freshman year, because I was kind of like, I was nervous. Like I was intimidated, like walking in, like I didn't know
It's
any
a
of the
lot.
coaches. I didn't know any of the guys in my class. Like the recruiting classes are always pretty close because they go on visits together and they have the group chat. And I show up and I was like the only guy who wasn't. Yeah, I'm the new guy. And so I just getting to know all those guys and get more comfortable. Definitely like kind of breeds more confidence and on the field and off the field. So those are probably two things I would say.
Yeah, and you were able to step into a really interesting role, like you're safety, but also you are, and tell me how to say this, you're an assistant sideline singular for defense. Like talk about that and just like that's such a unique role that Aranda has been able to gift you.
Yeah, so I always knew. Kind of going back to like why I wanted to play football in college, I always thought I wanted to coach in high school. I kind of just seen my uncle, seen my grandpa, and definitely.
And your uncle is Dennis Allen. Yes,
yeah,
so he's with the Saints.
Yes,
and now
he's Chicago, Chicago Bears, so he's the defensive coordinator there.
Okay.
But just like growing up, I always kind of looked up to those two, and always felt like not a responsibility, but it's like it's cool when you see different generations of your family and like my last name, like it means a lot, and so it's like being the next guy in line to kind of carry that forward. And so I knew that if I wanted to coach, I should play in college, and so I had some opportunities to play at smaller schools, but I was like, man, if I want to do this, try and get to the biggest place you can, and like Coach Aranda is a defensive genius, and so like going to learn under him would be a huge opportunity. And then kind of like freshman year was kind of just, earn trust and respect and show up every day and all that. And then I remember going into sophomore year, I went and had a conversation with like the defensive staff and said, hey, would love to kind of pursue this later on. Like, is there any way I can help you guys? Like, I feel like I know the system really well, know the defense really well, and kind of coach up some other guys in the team. And they were like, yeah, we trust you. And so kind of got that opportunity my sophomore year, and then started to sit into defensive staff meetings and like as many staff meetings as I can. And so that role has been cool too. And so I've just learned a ton. And so it's like being a fly on the wall. It's like how many meetings can I sit in? And I have like stacks of notebooks in my room just from like different weeks. And it's like, man, you get this opportunity of 3 or 4 years, and it's like, how do you make the most of it? And so that was really cool, and I wasn't really expecting it, to be honest. But it's kind of like, all right, you get to kind of be like a GA almost on the defensive side of the ball, and then compete on special teams and all that. So just it's been cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, what a better way to learn how to coach, of like be actively playing, but also like having this like coaching role and being in it. And there's a moment at Tech. Correct? Okay, tell me about it, because you obviously know. And so I'm like reading all these articles about it. I'm like, let me just ask Michael and like get his perspective on this play.
Yeah. So basically what happened was we were like, obviously had like a really talented team and all that, and kind of got off to a rocky start. I think we were 2-4 leading up to the Tech game. After Colorado was tough, and like we played a lot of tough teams, Iowa State, BYU. And we get to the hotel at Tech, and like we always have, we get there the night before, and we have like a little walkthrough and then like a team meeting the night before the game. And it's like 10 minutes before the meeting, and Aranda comes up to me. He's like, hey, did you speak to the team tonight? I was like, sure. I was like, 10 sure. Minutes? Yeah, I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm not really like a rah-rah guy, So I was like, I was trying to figure out what to say, but like there was no time to figure out. So we had a little walkthrough, and then Coach just goes up there and he's like, Mike Allen's got something to, something to say. And so I just kind of got up there and kind of spoke from the heart and just kind of shared whatever I, thought. And I think it was able to be resonated. But like I'm just so thankful for like that opportunity, for a coach to trust in you, and then like just all the guys were great. They like said I did well and all that stuff, but and then they went out there and we played great, and so it was like all of and it's like that obviously was not like everyone like the story was like kind of overblown, but it was like all the guys, like we had a really good bye week and all that, and then like Coach kind of just said, hey, and I kind of just like was just laid out like we had talked about it all week, but it was like, hey, like we have all the pieces in place to do this thing, and it's like once it clicks, like watch out, because like once it clicks, it's going to keep on rolling. And I think it was really cool to see everything get put together at Tech, and then that kind of sparked the rest of the way. So
that's cool. In the article that Jerry Hill wrote, talks about Aranda like had a whole thing prepared after you, and so he was an article of like, yeah, it's gonna let Michael Allen talk, and then I had something prepared. He's like, but what he said was perfect, and it sit really well with the guys, so I didn't even get up there and talk. And I was like, that is so Michael Allen, like just so on brand for him to like know all the right things to say, whatever, to get everyone in the right mindset. Yeah, I think it just really speaks to who you are and your character, and so that was really fun to when I'm doing my research to see those stories.
No, that was a fun one.
Yeah, that's really sweet. Another story that I feel like I just have to tell because I think it just speaks to who you are and your character. But we met through FCA, and we're FCA leaders together, so got to do Sunday meetings, and then Monday was FCA. And I quote you all the time just because I need to remind myself to slow down sometimes and not be so, hi, oh my gosh, like sorority girl.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of getting all of FCA like started that night. And so I was like, okay, guys, like, we're gonna, we like played a game. I was like, okay, everyone, like, circle up, like, come over here. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I think it was Caleb Parker was like, hey, like, can you get everyone circled up? I was like, okay, this
sounds
is like
about right.
50 people. Yeah, I was like, this is
right.
50 people. I was like, once they get all circled up, like, what do you want me to do? Yeah. Like, where do we go from there? And so you're staying next to me, and I was like, okay, guys, like, everyone, like, circle up. And I think you could just feel me being so nervous and so, like, and you, like, tap me on the shoulder. You're like, Faith, silence is okay. I was like,
wow, I don't remember.
Thank you. I was like, okay. And so I told AG that night. I go, Michael told me this, and I need to remember it. And so from now on, anytime AG and I will be hanging
never told
out.
Me that.
Yes, AG and I will be hanging out, and I will have, like, nervous energy or something, or I'm like, okay, like, we need to do this. And she's like, silence is okay.
That's
silence
so
is okay.
funny.
I'm like,
I'm going to have to talk to AG about
that's
that in
good.
class
Yes.
tomorrow. That's funny. I did not know that.
Yes. So anytime, which I think just speaks to who you are and just like you're always so poised and know the right things to say. But all of that to say, talk about FCA and impact that you feel like it's made on you and a little bit of your testimony, because I know your brother is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And then y'all's team Bible study this year was just unreal.
Yeah. So FCA is a huge piece of my testimony. And to be honest, like, that was the moment that I received Christ. And so didn't really grow up in a Christian household, but my brother was like a huge influence in my faith journey. And so I remember he was 3 years older than me, and so he was a senior when I was a freshman in high school. And so he, like, drove me to school and all that. And I, like, the third play of freshman football, like, broke my humerus, like, all that, and so, like, was in a sling. And it's like Jackson drove me to school every day, and Thursday morning was FCA. And so it was like, your brother's driving to school, and so if he goes early, like, you go early. There's no choice here. Both parents were working, and so I would always go with him in the mornings, and, like, I just loved it, like, I sat in and, like, listened to it. And I'd always been curious because I'd always seen, like, my brother and, like, a lot of my friends talk about it. And so I remember, like, that was kind of a rough part just because injury and, like, how freshman year there's a lot of changes and all that, and the pressure to fit in and all that, and then you get hurt and you're like, man, that was a rough start to high school football. And then I remember, like, my brother was asked to speak at Fields of Faith, which is like an FCA event, like, at night, and like, at this football stadiums, like, there's a lot of people going. And my older brother is he's actually a teacher now, but, like, I remember, like, growing up, he was always a little bit more shy, a little more reserved. And so he was an FCA leader, and they asked him to speak at this, like, big Fields of Faith event. And I was like, man, like, I don't know how this is going to go, And I was like, of course I'm going to go support. And, like, I just saw my brother speak, and he was like so, like, confident and, like, so vibrant. And I was like, is that, like, my brother? Like, I didn't even recognize, And I was like, man, like, I need something like that in my life. And so that night we actually ordered my first Bible together, and, like, it's still the one I took to Harris Creek yesterday for church. And so I still have it with me. But like, he was a pivotal part in my testimony, and, like, FCA started leading high school FCA. And then started, getting plugged into Baylor FCA, and there's just such incredible people, and I think, like, like-minded people, and, like, I've just loved FCA. And so, like, Nathan Jones has been a great guy. Yeah, it's our guy. He's been a great mentor of mine. And so I'm just so grateful for FCA and, like, what it's meant to me, and just the amount of people I've been surrounded with in the organization.
No, it's good. I think that's also something, like, my freshman year, FCA was it was cool to go. Like
Yeah.
all the older girls on my team went, and so they were like, "You're coming."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay."
No option.
So I went to FCA, and then sophomore, junior year, I feel like it kind of slowed down a little bit, and so I was like, "Lord, like, where do you want me in this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, no one wants to come to FCA. It's not cool. Like, I feel like we in our meetings we're like, make FCA
That's
cool
it.
again.
That was the whole
The
part.
whole thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do we need to do to get people here? And then my senior year, just to be able to see it absolutely explode.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know, like 30, 45?
No, we had like 60.
Which is
one time. Because I remember we
crazy.
were in the softball indoor.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember that was my freshman year, my sophomore year, 20, you know, like 20 would be a normal night, a good night. And then like we moved it back because they were doing construction on the indoor.
Yes.
And then when we moved it back to the indoor, we like, I don't know if it was like social media and all that stuff. Like we just like kept finding ways to get people to go.
Yeah.
And like, I remember one night I counted 70 people.
That's crazy.
And I like turned to Nathan. I was like, "This is crazy." Because I remember like we had 15 people in the softball indoor.
Yes. And it was the same 15.
Yeah, every
week.
time. And so it was really cool to see it grow.
Yeah.
And hopefully kind of keep that going for the next year or so.
Yeah.
So
that's just such a testament to, I feel like y'all's team. I brought it up because it was my junior year, still in the softball indoor, and y'all's team, we're just kind of talking to some of the volleyball girls, and y'all were like, we need to start a team Bible study. Like, we're just really encouraged by y'all and what y'all are doing. And so volleyball's always been very good about having team Bible studies and things, just because of Coach Mack and who he is. And so I remember like talking about it and praying about it. Like, okay, like we need to pray for football, for like their team Bible study, and then to see that prayer answered through y'all. I remember going to practice one day, and they're like, "What's the highlight of your week? Highlight of whatever?" And I was like, the football team, their Bible study is going so well. Guys are getting baptized. Like, talk about that, of like being able to start that with Sawyer and Kyler and Caleb and some of those guys. Yeah,
that was such a blessing, because I remember like earlier, like freshman year and sophomore year, like would have a lot of great conversations, you know, in the locker room, and there would be different Bible studies with like Josh Ahambe and John Maurer, but there's never something like with just the football guys, you know, and I think like we spend so much time together, and there's so many, you know, ups and downs, and like we're able to relate at a deeper level, just the amount of time we spend with each other, and so we'd always just talk about it, but nothing ever really kind of came together. And so in the spring of 23, I think, is when we started. Oh, no, it was the spring of 24. It was after the 2023 season. We started, and like Garrison and I kind of started that up, and we did a series called Better Man that Harris Creek led. And so like we got these, you know, booklets, and it was like each guy got a packet that he followed along. You took notes, and it was like how to be a better father, how to be a better man, a better husband, just a better human being, you know. And it's like so many times you're judged on how you are as a football player. You know, and it's like that's not what's most important. You know, it's like, who are you? How's your relationship with the Lord, and how are you treating other people? And so we started that on Tuesday night, and like the response was just incredible. You know, it's like we have probably 115 guys in the team, and like we were getting 20 guys to start, maybe 20 guys, and like we've had up to 40 you know, this year. And so it's just been really cool to see that grow as well, and to do it with like your guys, you know, like Kyler and Sawyer, and to see them step up in leadership roles has been really cool. We did a study this past summer, and it was about like biblical character, and so Tim Pike is our head athletic trainer, and he's been like super involved too.
Him.
Yeah,
yes,
Tim
he's needled me before.
He is awesome, because he's a huge believer, and he probably will get mad if he sees this, because he always likes to be the behind the scenes guy, but he'll text me and say, "Hey, I have an idea. Like, come by my office, and like we'll map out like how Bible study will look."
Cool.
And so we did this thing in the winter where he taught me like this acronym that he learned. It was like CHAR, like spelling out character. It's like biblical character. And so we went through this summer, and we made it a study, and we had one guy on the team teach a letter. And so I sat down with each guy, and it was like, "Hey, like Sawyer, you're going to teach the C this week. And then Kyler, you're going to teach the H. Josh Cameron, you're going to teach the A." And so it was like the guys getting up in front of their teammates and giving a devotional and like sharing part of their testimony.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was cool to see them like Walker White was another guy. And I was like, "Hey, like, dude, this is going to be your thing to take over. You know, like if we're seniors and we're going to be done this year, the next year, like, it was really cool to like equip them to like take over, but it was also like, instead of watching a video, it's like that's your teammate like sharing like his testimony, his story, and so it was just incredible. And then we had you know, I think we've had 6 or 7 guys get baptized over the last
Jeez.
year.
And you were one of them.
I was one of them. And I know we've talked about this like forever, just through
Yeah.
FCA and like all the things that we've done, but like have been a believer for a while, but just never got around to like being baptized, and just never like felt like I always like wanted it to be like, oh, it's got to be this and this, you know, and it's like got to be the right moment and all that. And I remember Trevin Mae was in my small group, and he was like, hey, Mike, like, would you baptize me?
Wow.
And I was like, dude, of course, you know. And it was like a lot of us, we would do like some sort of video or some sort of like scripture, and then we'd split up into small groups. And so we'd have like 7 or 8 small groups, and leaders would, you know, kind of lead your small group. You got 4 or 5 guys, and just the conversations that we were able to have, you know, like on those Tuesday nights. And we were going through Ecclesiastes in 2024, and, you know, it's like there's a time for every season, and it's like 2 and 4, you know, when things aren't going very well, it's like those same guys were showing up every single night. And then it's like, all right, 6 in a row. Like, whether we were like winning or losing, like every single guy was in there on Tuesday night, like praying for each other, praying for the team. And that was really cool. And I was moved by that, you know, and I was like, man, like it doesn't have to be perfect. And then the Lord kind of like tugged on my heart. He's like, hey, like this is the perfect, you know, place to do it. It's with people that, you know, have been a huge influence on you. And so I asked Josh Ahambe to baptize me, because he was like been a huge mentor and friend. And so that was cool. It was like in the football tub. So it's like it couldn't get more football than that, you know. And it's like we just did it in the like the hydrotherapy pool. And so I got baptized, and then I was able to baptize Trevin after that.
So cool.
And then we had 3 guys get baptized actually after this biblical character study. It was like
cool.
Tyler Turner, Drake Knobloch, and Kylan Reed.
Wow.
So just really cool. So I've been so fortunate for like all those guys and how much they work at the Bible study, and like they make that a priority, you know, and it's optional, obviously. And then like Baylor, like they provide food for us, which is awesome. You know, and it's like that doesn't happen in other places. No. Like one of my buddies, he was like really inspired. He's like asked me like how we do it, and I was like, if you want to get like 300-pound linemen to go to Bible study, like you gotta have food. Like you gotta have an incentive. And like he tried, and the operations people said no. And so like Baylor, you can do that, you know. And so just so fortunate for like Landry Walsh, he picks up the food every week, and like gets no credit for it. And so there's a lot of people that kind of work and make that a reality. So
that's awesome. That's good. I think just having a younger brother, like you just hope and pray that like there's men in his life that are doing the same, and like are being that for him in a college athletic space, because it's hard. I mean, like obviously I was never a college football player, so I don't know some of the things that go on or what happens. But I know I was a college athlete, and so that's also difficult of like there's good and bad days, and my good days are better than a lot of people's worst days, but my bad days are also, you know, sometimes I'm like, ugh, this is tough. But to go walk through life with girls that are also believers is huge. It's such a game changer. So that's awesome. Take a quick break, talk about our favorite guy, Hondo Hat Company, Cole Posey. I'm sure he's pumped for this weekend for Auburn because he gets to support all of his Baylor merch. So yeah, make sure y'all go check out Hondo Hat Company, hondohatcompany.com. So many different styles and color combos. I think he has some stuff in the works coming out soon. So make sure you check him out and enjoy his commercial.
I'm Cole Posey, and I'm a third-generation Baylor Bear. During my time playing baseball at Baylor, I started a hat company called Hondo, which started as meek and humble beginnings, has quickly grown into something more. Over 40,000 hats sold, and then over 100 retail locations nationwide. I love vintage Western hats, but couldn't stand the condition they came in, so I decided to make my own. Vintage style, but with modern aesthetics. Thank you so much for making my dream come true, and for enabling what was once a dream to become a reality. God bless.
Big week for y'all. Big game week. Auburn, SEC team, 7 p.m. Friday, blackout, chrome helmets. Like, I don't think Baylor could have punched anything more into this game they did. What are we feeling? What can we expect from y'all? What do you think the season's going to look like for Baylor football?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, it's a big start, you know, and it's cool to you know, have that opportunity. And so I think that speaks to, you know, the guys and how hard they've worked and, you know, the talent we have there. But at the same time, it's like you haven't done anything yet, you know. It's like last year was last year. And so it's a new team, it's a new group. I think we've come a long way for like a lot of transfers, and so just gelling. And I'm excited to put it on display on Friday. And so we'll kind of just keep keep working and see where it takes us. But I'm excited for this group and this year for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel like defense-wise with Aranda taking more of that role this year, do you think that's going to change a lot for y'all? Do you think you're going to see a lot out of that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so like Coach Arena and Coach Pallage, work side by side, and kind of like detailing out the defense.
Yeah.
And just talk about like two brilliant defensive minds, and so like we are very fortunate to have both of them. And so I think it's going to be, it's going to be similar, and I think we've just made a huge emphasis on consistency and winning with fundamentals. And I think we have the people to be very successful this year on defense, and just got to go out and do that. And like one of the things we talked about all camp was like it's really hard to be an elite defense. Like you can't have an off day.
Yeah.
It's like the offense gets to go out there and celebrate and do TikTok dances and have fun, but it's like defense, it's like you can't have an off moment, an off day.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited. I think our guys have bought into that, and then we have an opportunity to go out and show it this season.
That's awesome. Do you feel like your team culture has been able to grow over the summer and kind of into fall camp to get to that point where you feel like you can trust your defense?
Yeah, I think, and as you know, like the transfer portal era is definitely tough.
Massive.
Because you finish a year and then, hey, we got 35 new teammates, and you got to go learn everybody. And so one of the big emphasis we had this year was like, all right, like you got your football, you got your ball, like your brotherhood and your battle. Like those are the three kind of things: ball, brotherhood, and battle. And so just getting to know your teammates and making an emphasis of like, we go do a pool party at Coach Aranda's, or like getting to know somebody when you're sitting down and eating at the bank, at the dining hall.
Yeah.
And so I think we've gone through a lot together with Coach Vic and his strength program. And I think if you're able to survive Coach Vic's strength program and get to the other side, I think we're a lot closer because of it. And so I'm excited. We got a lot of good guys and good players and good people. So I think we're ready to go.
Fall camp's no joke.
No, it's no joke.
It is no joke.
No joke.
I just going to media sessions and, I feel like a lot of the guys will start off questions of like, so how are you doing? And it's always a good. Fall camp's good. What do you feel like y'all were able to grow in at this fall camp?
Yeah, I think this camp was great. I think it was a lot. We did a lot of hitting, a lot of pads, a lot of plays. But I think we grew a lot as a team. And I think it's always hard because, you do spring ball and then you get into the summer and there's like 2 months where you're just kind of working out and you're not doing a lot of football. And then you go from like 0 football to 100, real quick. And so fall camp is all a days. Like you're up there from 6:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. And it's meetings and it's practice and it's walkthroughs and then it's meetings and it's walkthroughs. Like there's so much football.
So much going on.
And so what I love about it though is because like you're surrounded by your people, and so like, you really get to know who someone is when you're on day 15 of fall camp and everybody's sore and everybody's tired. And so I think we're able to grow, and I think we're able to just kind of see who we can go to war with, and it's like you really get to know somebody when things are not going well. And so the part of fall camp is kind of breaking down your body, breaking down your mental, because those opportunities are going to be here in the season, and you got to be ready for when things are good and when things are bad.
Yeah, so that's good. What can we expect from you this season, and what are some goals that you have? Yeah,
the biggest thing for me, I think we talked about earlier, is like, man, just maximize your role. And so whether that's, playing on special teams, how many plays can we make and make the team better there? Whether it's, hey, you're signaling, you're helping coach on the headset with the defense, like how many guys can I pour into and coach up? Whether it's in a leadership role, it's like, how can I direct this team in the best way I can? But it's like, or even as a Bible study, and so it's like all these different avenues. Like I just want to be intentional and like give my best in everything. And so whether that's on the field or off the field, I think the biggest thing for me was like, be where your feet are, like I think it's really easy to look forward and say, hey, like by this week I want to have this done. But one of the things, my theme was kind of for camp was like daily deposits, it's like the little things you do every day will eventually add up to big returns. And so it's like not, getting too low or too high, but just like every day is an opportunity, and then make a daily deposit, and then you look up after the season, hopefully be in the college football playoff, and then that's a goal. And so actually when I first got to Baylor, I wrote down a list of like individual goals. I think we talked about it, and I've got a couple left. And so like playing in a college football playoff game was
sick.
one of them. Winning a Big 12 title was one of them.
Yeah, because you missed that. That was right before you got here.
I know. Yeah. Since I got here, it's been downhill. No, I'm kidding. But I'm excited. I think we got the group to do it. So.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited to just cover Baylor football, my first football season. Like, you know what I mean? Like to for it to be the way the season is hopefully going to trend, to be able to cover it and watch it, I'm like, gosh, I'm so blessed and thankful. If it's trending this way, this is great. But everyone that comes on my podcast gets to answer this question. If you could write a letter to sports, what would you say?
Dear sports, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you've done in my life. Thank you for the incredible friends and relationships I've been able to form. Thank you for the countless mentors and coaches and the wisdom that you've poured into me. Thank you for the platform you've given my family and myself to share my faith and share my story. And I just pray that you continue to positively impact people's lives just as you've impacted mine.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for coming on. This was so
Thanks
fun. Yeah, enjoyed it. Excited for y'all this season. Can't wait to watch. And we'll always be cheering you on. So thanks for coming.
Thanks, Faith. Appreciate it.
Yeah.